All right, what up, everybody? Welcome to the Takeover Pod. This is what is this, boys? Week 5? Game week
Week
5 of the
five.
B.G.G.F.P.L.M.L podcast. It's a takeover pod. We're your favorite podcast artists. We're ready to go. We got Kris Peterson, we got Andrew Peterson here. These two are two of my favorite people. Andrew and I, we go way back to sophomore year. I met him at, what was it, Cascadillo? No, Schuyler Hall. Met him at Cornell. He was a Cornell cowbell guy for the hockey game. So he was serving up cowbell for the students. Kris, his brother, I met during the middle of the pandemic in Cleveland. Andrew had introduced us, and he serves up pizza, serves the entire community. These are two of my favorite people. Just kindest people you ever meet. Great music taste, great pizza taste. They come from a long line, a long lineage of pizza cooks. So we love that for them. So without further ado, welcome to the pod, guys.
Thanks, Rob. Let's not forget that we actually followed each other on Twitter before we ever met in person. And I think
You
I
and you and Kris followed each other on.
yeah. No, no.
I don't
I
think it works
remember I
like
met
that.
you and I was like, "Are you Broccoli Rob?" And I still to this day have you in my phone as Broccoli Rob.
Don't go look for it, people. It's long deleted.
Lots of takes, lots of takes.
So how are you guys doing? I mean, I guess I should bring up first and foremost, did you want to respond to the rumors of collusion that have been circling about the league?
Yeah, I'll take that. I mean, there have been some, I'll say baseless claims that my brother and I have colluded to somehow in a head-to-head league give ourselves a leg up. If we did, and I'm not saying we did, we really shot ourselves in the foot in the first week. Uh,
I,
but go ahead, Andrew.
I think those allegations, it says a lot more about the person levying them than it does about us.
Go there. Are you gonna go there? Let's go
First off,
there.
as two people that are, I think, analytically inclined, if we were trying to maximize the value of the Peterson household, we, like Kris said, shot ourselves in the foot because we got 2 total points to the Peterson household, whereas if we really wanted to to collude, I would have purposefully lost and given Kris 3 points. But clearly the person with these claims has trouble with such concepts. But I'll stop there. I'll stop there.
Yeah, House Peterson was though we do have a group chat and oft discuss uh, FPL. I don't think there were similarities in our teams, and we both may have initially had Phil Foden in our teams and not ended up with him in our game week 1 roster. But
I
yeah,
didn't know
totally
we were
baseless.
playing. I didn't know we were playing each other. We were sending each other our teams back and forth. So this isn't. I am playing into the collusion claims, and then I find out that I'm
And
playing Kris, and we have like 3 players different. So
it's
It's
just group
it's basically a
thinking.
new version of the Connor Stallions documentary because some people are bringing up the allegations right now, but those people have group chats themselves. They've been including themselves. So everybody in this league is dirty. I know you. I know everybody in this league except Alex K, the new Alex. Everybody in this league is dirty. I know you. So we don't want to go there.
With that in mind, though, I mean, it's been amazing how Andrew, I feel like our points has pretty much tracked within 1 or 2, even though our teams have diverged from that initial game week 1 setting, which is pretty honest. We both had a pretty rough game week 4. And
What's
I
your
mean,
overall rank right now? Just curious.
I don't know. It tanked. It's
I
just
haven't checked mine
shade.
either.
Yeah,
We'll get
it's
into that. We'll get
yeah,
into
See,
yeah.
that's
We'll
a
get it.
for me. That's a part of like going to therapy. For me, is like I just don't check my FPL rank. My therapist reminds me that every week.
It's a good therapist.
So, I want to get to know. Well, I mean, I know you guys, but we want everybody in the podcast to get to know you a little bit better. So, wanted to ask if each of you could share 3 fun facts about the other person. Kind of start off there.
Kris, do
Yeah,
you go first? I can go first.
Okay, Kris, you're older. Do you want to go first?
yeah. I was gonna say the oldest brother always goes first, just as the older brother would have won and the younger brother would have lost if there was collusion. Um, so some fun facts about Andrew. I don't like this is like my number one fear at a party is being asked, you're whatever, 2 truths and a lie or whatever you used to get asked. I'm like, I don't know. It's a little bit easier with Andrew because he's a little bit more interesting than me. But as you know, Andrew is the creator of the ELO rank. He has always been a little bit of a nerd.
That's rich.
I know it's very rich. As graduating as the salutatorian from our high school. So congrats on all your success there. Pretty smart guy. Um, the second fun fact is that he studied abroad at the University of St. Andrews for a semester and played basically the best golf course in the world more times than
So
I
jealous.
think I think anyone would be happy to play it. Which is pretty incredible that he was able to do that as a golf lover. And I guess the third fun fact, which Rob kind of already alluded to, but I think is just is bears mentioning is that Rob and I are friends because of Andrew, and as that's the reason why I'm kind of involved in this league, I guess, is through Andrew. Kind of Andrew was the conduit to Rob and a whole other a slew of friendships in my life. So I have really Andrew initially to thank for that, and yeah, just yeah, we'll get into that later. But Andrew's been a conduit for some other friends in my life, like Rob. So
This is why I was afraid of going second because I was like, is Kris gonna what route is he gonna go? Silly or
That was
sentimental?
not the route I thought we were going.
go
Very
go
wholesome.
I'll go.
Very
I'll go.
demure, very thoughtful,
Andrew.
Kris.
Andrew's I toe the line of I don't know, I like to be sentimental most times. Andrew, you can be
No.
silly if you want,
It's
be
good.
silly.
Kris was the only it was my wife and Kris, the 2 people that made me cry on my wedding weekend. So that was in a good way. Good way. Kris is I'm gonna go into my fun facts. So let's start out, one important throwback. Kris's AOL chat name or AIM chat name was Shorty for Life. Which is a comment on his stature, which he's not short anymore, but I did always appreciate his I would say even still some self-deprecation he loves that, but
Life was spelled LYPH too.
PH for
Yeah,
Phoenixville. Yeah.
yeah.
I don't think I knew that. The other, it's less of a fun fact, more of a memory I have is like when we were younger, I thought Kris was the best at everything, which was, potentially true. He was quite good at many things, but I remember, he would play, he was very skilled at Age of Empires 2 and Roller Coaster Tycoon, and I would watch him over his shoulder for hours, and that was a fond memory, but soon I realized that he had weaknesses, and I grew stronger than him in the video game realm, much like the FPL realm.
What was your go-to roller coaster tycoon park? This has already gone off the rails. Our podcast is.
Yeah,
we could have a whole podcast on this.
I like the ones, one where there was no money. Do you remember those ones? And Roller Coaster Tycoon 2,
like
there were a
Leaky
couple-
Lake, like with the
Yes,
gigantic
yes.
lake, but you had
Yeah,
a
where
ton
you-
of grass. You could buy a bunch of property in the
You
back.
could, yeah. I never understood the strategy of it all, but yes,
I just couldn't stand Sandy Dunes. I didn't like having like the roller coaster already pre-built. It took a lot of
Yeah.
money to fill it in if you didn't like it.
yeah,
I apologize for the tangent.
yeah, or the castle,
we'll
the
have
one with the
a
castle.
second pod on Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. The other thing, the last thing is, it's hard, you might not tell from just looking at him, but Kris is fiercely competitive and hates losing. Very much, especially to his younger brothers. But I think since he's been with Caitlin, she's maybe tamed that side of him a little bit. Still very competitive, but a much more gracious, in competition. We'll say that than he used to be. But obviously very, very kind person, and overall, I think all of us are just big saps. We got that from our dad, so.
We do love Mr. Peterson. Great pizza maker, even a better man.
Not even 1% Italian. But
So I actually have no idea how long we've been doing this podcast, so I've already lost track of time. So we'll move on to, so I guess my next question, if real quick you just kind of like touch on like how has your life changed since 2020? I mean, I imagine your life has changed because of FPL. Like that's why you got married. That's why you had a baby. Like that's why we're making these life moves. So how has your life changed since you joined the league?
Andrew, you want to go first on this one?
I'll take this one. I just a couple small things. So since 2020, I have moved twice across the country. I lived in Houston, Texas for a year and a half, moved there from San Francisco, then moved to Boston, where I've been for the last 3 years. Since moving to Boston, got engaged, got married, and recently bought a house, asterisk, it's a condo, but that's where I am right now. In our top floor, where we're actually planning some renovations soon. But yeah, lots of life moves since 2020. Unfortunately, I almost feel like my FPL, skill has stagnated a bit. Maybe we can get to that. Maybe not ascended, like I feel like, going through life, career, lots of good things have happened. It's not translating on the field yet, but
I was gonna say you didn't get the marriage bump. Marcus won after getting married last year.
no. How about you, Kris?
Yeah, I mean, I think we were 2020 and after. I mean, the biggest thing is just we had a daughter last year, and obviously that completely changes your life in the best way. So I had her like she was like less than a week old when I was drafting my FPL team for last year. It's just like a really distinct memory of being awake at odd hours in the morning and consulting her. No, but yeah, it's just been yeah, the best thing, and I think like Andrew said, probably has taken away a little bit from FPL. Though she did.
You still have time for collusion, though.
I'll mention this because I don't know if we'll get to it, but she woke me up at on Saturday morning at like 5:55 a.m. and I was like, I gotta change my captain. So I flip-flopped my captain from Holland Salah and lost a bunch of points. So
Not how I expected
will-
that to go.
I will say sometimes waking up at right before the deadline doesn't lead to good things. So yeah, just funny note there.
We need Brandon here. What's the term for that? I know that's not quite tilting, but that's
kind of knee jerk, right?
yeah, I guess that is a little knee jerk, yeah.
A little knee jerky.
He had
But also a little bit of
Forrest.
FPL heritage.
He's-
You getting
he
Mullen
was-
involved in your picks. We love that.
Yes. Yes.
Assistant
So
GM. Assistant GM.
assistant to the assistant GM. So I guess like maybe let's do a hard pivot here. We love a hard pivot. So what would you say your managerial style is in FPL? You guys have been around since the beginning. How would you like give me a title? So we have Tiki Taka, we have the Gegenpress, we have Route One, we have Catenaccio, we have a vertical Tiki Taka. These are all, some of these are variations of like total football. What would you say like your managerial style is when it comes to FPL? And I guess, as you're answering that, I think incorporating into your answer, what do you value? Like, do you value trophies? Do you value rank? And I guess, going along with that, so that's like we got a subpart question. I love a subpart question. And going along with that, what would be the pros and cons of your managerial style? Why do you think it's going to carry you to a championship, or why do you think it's going to carry you to relegation? I'm saying neither of you are ever going to get relegated. This like I'm just going to say that right now.
So, Andrew, I'll take this one first. I feel like for one of those titles that you named, I don't know soccer well enough to know what any of those mean, and I don't think Andrew does.
You haven't read Inverting the Pyramid yet?
That's on my list. I'll listen to the audiobook. I feel like what I value probably too much is I like wings that play like whether they're left or right backs that play up the pitch a lot. And I like when they're really aggressive. I'm an Arsenal fan as of watching the Amazon documentary 2 years ago. Just sorry, Charlotte, I know you don't like managers that are really passionate or that get really heated and whatever. But Arteta, just like I love his style and his passion that he brings to the team, and I just felt like some of his little speeches and quips, were just really, really cool. And I like the way that that the Arsenal left and right backs, Ben White just filters up the pitch, pretty high. And just like teams that play in that like really aggressive way. And so that kind of translates to the picks that I have in FPL. I remember the first year that I played, I think Stuart Dallas from Leeds was
That's
a
a
defender,
throwback.
and he was like either a 4.0 or a 4.5, and he just killed it because he just was getting all these attacking returns. He wasn't keeping any clean sheets, but he was like racking up the assists, and yeah, maybe
I
a
think he
couple
had like
handful
two
of
back-to-back weeks, like a 15 pointer, and then like
Yeah.
something crazy like that, and 18.
Yeah, so that like I just love the defenders that have attacking potential, I guess. And so where that kind of bites me in the butt is the lack of clean sheets, I guess, that sometimes results from that. So like this year I'm trying to be more mindful of like, okay, Arsenal keeps a lot of clean sheets. Unfortunately, all their defenders are priced really high. And might hear my daughter in the background waking up. She's not a good sleeper. But generally, yeah, just like kind of balancing that about attacking versus defending, where the points come from. And I know like Ben White last year was the highest scoring defender, and he's a super attack minded, but Arsenal kept the most clean sheets in the league too. So there's there's just a really good balance there, choosing defenders that attack in sides that are going to keep clean sheets. And I think personally, as someone who's never won a trophy in this league, I'm just pursuing one trophy, I forget if I maybe 2 years ago I made it into the top 4 into the Champions League, but just that's always a good year-end push. Usually because I'm coming from the outside in.
You're kind of you're kind of the Tottenham of the league right now. You have like a high pressing team. You're always fun to watch. It's just in the big game. It just you fall a little short, but you're always
don't call me Tottenham. No. No, but it's been really like, Andrew alluded to it before, but I'm like super competitive. So if I feel, just like a side note, like I remember being a part of a youth group in high school fantasy football league, and by the end of the year, everyone was inactive, but I was the only one keeping tabs on my team, and I was like trying to win the championship, even though this whole league was inactive. So super competitive, Anyway,
championship is coming, man.
One day.
It's mentality. What about you, AP? Andrew?
Yeah, I wish I had a term. The only thing that's coming to my brain right now is like a Madden play, which is 4 verticals, just going for it on 4th. No, I think a big part of my flaw with FPL is I don't have as much time as I want on a Saturday to sit down and watch the games. Or even watch, I wish we had match of the day. I know you can catch it on YouTube probably, but when you're in the UK, just like getting a 90-minute, you really kind of get all of the, you can actually analyze the games that you didn't watch with something like that. And I'm not watching almost most of these games. I'm not even watching my favorite side, which is Liverpool, most weeks. So I end up maybe diving too much into the analytics. I'm looking at like minutes played, expected goals, expected assists, looking just at like the fixtures coming up, and really not able to assess what's just a couple data points, maybe maybe just making decisions a little too rashly on not enough data. And it would be great if I could step back and watch some of these games to I kind of I also listen to podcasts, and maybe I get too much from the outside in instead of forming my own opinions, telling on myself here. But or if I get a text from Kris like, game week 1, Kris is like, oh, Poro is basically playing wing back, but he's almost playing all the way up, and I was like, oh, I got to get Poro on my team. Yeah, I didn't watch a minute.
You guys aren't helping your collusion case.
No, you're absolutely not. You're right. Yeah, so that's I think I look a little put too much weight in the numbers without kind of having don't want to call it the eye test, but just like having anything to back it up. And yeah, I'd love to maybe be able to spend a bit more time on the weekends watching some games, but I don't have the excuse of having a kid. But I have started to I started there's a run club in my town on Saturday mornings that I help run, and I just end up being away. So that's my excuse for not getting as much watching time in. But like I said, kind of similar to Kris with Arteta, like I watched when I was studying abroad in Liverpool, just to give a bit of my like PL, like Premier League background. I was studying abroad in St. Andrews, sorry, and just a good friend of mine at the time. So I had a really good friend who was in the league for 1 year, Joel Butcher.
Oh,
maybe he was
Joel.
in for 2.
Yeah, I met him at the wedding.
Yeah.
He was in for 2 years.
I think he left the league because he hates being spoiled. Like he doesn't look at any highlights, any like he hates like notifications. and so like I think he was like, he just stays in a
Can't take
total,
it anymore.
Yeah, he probably muted the group chat because we were just like spoiling things too much. But anyway, he supported some like championship, if championship, like Bristol City. But his good friend brought me to a pub like my first week in St. Andrews, and he was like, "Hey, you want to come watch, a match with me?" And it ended up being Liverpool against, I think, Everton. So, big match there. And he was supporting Liverpool, and I was like, "Oh, this looks, Mo Salah. I can get behind him. Could get behind Klopp and Alexander Arnold." And so since then, that's been my first love. But as I do with fantasy football, American football, I get a little too invested in my Premier League team, and I find my allegiance being a little weak. Especially if you find yourself rooting for Holland to get a brace. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is
get a brace, but Liverpool win 3-2.
Yeah.
Salah
Yeah.
score,
It's
Trent
tough.
score to make up for the lack of clean sheet. Yeah, you're kind of bending over backwards.
Yeah.
I felt that when I first started with, I adopted Chelsea when I first started playing because Pulisic was on Chelsea. So I started playing in 2019. And I had a lot of trouble in 2019 and the 2020 seasons being able to balance like really loving Chelsea or like trying to dive into my love of Chelsea and being a good FPL manager. And I almost think my experience has been like I'm kind of like the anti-analytics guy at this point, which is maybe not how I want to brand myself, but um,
Old man
so
shouting at the cloud.
So basically, like when we first started during the pandemic, like this league like brought me life. Like and I think the community still does. Like the community means so much to me. Like being able to be with you guys and everybody in the league. Like, I feel like I have a unique relationship with each and every person. And so like that still gives me life, and that's like still a big reason why I love this league. But during the pandemic, in addition to that, like the actual act of like watching soccer every single weekend, watching every single game, and that's when the games during the pandemic were lined up back to back. So every game had its own time slot. So you had a 7:30 game, a 10 a.m. game, a 12:30 game, and a 3 p.m. game. And then you would have on Sunday the exact same thing, and then another game on Monday. So you'd be able to watch all 10 games. So I was watching all 10 games and like gathering so much like data. I was listening to podcasts constantly. And I was getting these voices from outside. And I was kind of like constantly thinking like, well, this person's doing this person's doing there's this strategy, there's this strategy. And my strategy at this point is completely flipped. And it's almost like I chalk it up to laziness, but I don't think it's laziness as much as it is like I have condensed the universe of decisions. I've condensed now, especially with the new transfer saving rules. I've condensed my season into basically 10 decisions. So you have 38 game weeks. I can compile 5 transfers, basically 7 times. And I also have 2 wild cards and 3 chips. And so that condenses my season into like 10 to 15 decisions instead of like 2 decisions every single game week. And that's kind of been my strategy the last 2 seasons, where I shrink the universe of decisions I have to make. I'm not paying as much attention to the games. And a lot of times I'm going off of kind of last minute gut decisions because I don't want to like screw myself over with an injury. I'll like kind of take the price rises and falls. And so that's become more and more my decision making process, is just like basically completely check out of like the FPL universe. Don't even listen to any podcasts. And then on the Friday before the game, and as I'm on my train back from New Haven or White Plains or wherever I've been working the last couple of years, I would take 20, 30 minutes and let's do some research and snap transfer, and I'm just not going to think about it the rest of the weekend. Watch the games, of course, that in the highlights and kind of like interact with people in the community, but I've like stopped listening to podcasts and I've like gotten away from analytics. And I've just kind of like condensed my season really into less decisions that I can screw up. And I've kind of like, it's the only area of my life where I don't overthink, which I'm very proud of. And I think like it's yielded some success. So yeah, so we've talked a lot about managerial style. Oh, and I guess the last thing, I only care about trophies. I don't care about rank at this point. I just want to win the league. I only care about head to head. So I look at who I'm playing the next week and I build my team off of them. I don't
That's
care about rank. I don't care about points. And this leads as a segue. I don't care about elo. I just want to win
oh,
max. So
Okay,
with that
slander.
set up, I very much appreciate you, AP, for putting in the work and doing this. Do you want to explain elo and we can banter a little bit about it?
I sure happy to. I mean, I didn't mention I'm more, I'd say like equal, but I found myself caring more about rank of late than trophies. Although trophies do come with a nice monetary stipend, which
It's true.
Carolyn loves to hear that. My wife, she's like,
Barely dues.
how much are you? I was like, she's like, how much are you paying for these leagues again? I was like, don't worry, it always comes out in the green.
She's not excited about the gigantic silver trophy that's going to be in your living
I
room
did
soon.
tell her about that. Yeah. Unfortunately, according to my model, it's not looking super good for me to bring home any trophies. You can tell there wasn't a whole lot of, uh, you know, there was no collusion in the model making where it puts me at solid
Bias, yeah.
middle of the pack, which I think, you know, I saw that and I was like, you know what, that's kind of fair given the effort I put in. I feel like, especially over the last season, I lost some ground. So I was okay with my ranking. I think it had me at let's see, 18,
Actually,
15 right now.
that does surprise me a bit how low you are. Like, and this is with all, like, I have a lot of respect for what Charles has done coming into the league. This is not a shot at Charles because I know I haven't met you, Charles. You've been fantastic. Um, but I think just because I'm curious the weighting of the historical data because you've always been
Sure,
at the
yeah.
top. When I think of the top four teams, like you're kind of in my like estimate. Again, I value everybody in this league, but when I think of like the big six in our league, like you're in the big six because
Yeah,
you're
I mean,
always right there. You're always in the thick of things. So it kind of, I feel like it's
And I'm
underselling you.
Tottenham.
So exactly. You're in the big six too. You would have been in the
yeah.
Super
Oh,
League.
No,
all
I mean,
right, all
this
right.
was,
Hey,
so let me talk a bit about the historical data because I think it was Charles who, when I was pulling the historical data, he might have had the most seasons of FPL.
Oh, that's
Like,
right. He's been
and
playing for a long time,
I think
hasn't
I
he?
saw like 9, and I was
Oh,
like,
wow. Okay.
this
I
is
just
crazy.
slandered him then. Oh, shoot.
Anyway, I mean,
Okay.
we were gonna talk about biggest surprises that, when I put it together, I'm like, okay, Charles, like that's like nice job at the top there.
Yeah.
But essentially the initial ratings were taken with the last 4 years of data. So depending on your percentile finish in the league, so that's the data that I have available. It's not the individual game week scores, but basically in that year, what was your percentile in all of FPL? And the idea with ELO is it's almost a bell curve. It's almost a normal curve. It's a little different. I guess on the high end, it's like a long tail. So like you can have really, really high ratings, but generally it only goes as low as 0. And the average tends to be between like 1,300 and 1,500. For our league, I set the average at like 1,500, which I'll go into like why that matters. But essentially what I did is I looked at your past 4 years, if you had 4 years of historical data, got your percentile ranking. I did like a weighted average. So basically your last year is like 50% weighted average. The year before that was like 25. The year before that was 15. And then the fourth year is 10. So it created kind of like a rated average percentile. And then basically using the distribution of ELO, found like if you were in, say, like the 99th percentile, your ELO rating would be like 2,100 because that's like the 99th percentile of all of ELOs, using kind of like the general chess. That's like where ELO started. So
Oh, yeah.
and
Okay.
so like that was the initial kind of like throw a dart at a dartboard. We just need a number, but obviously it's not perfect. And so I think why you're seeing a lot of movement now is like how the model updates your rating, and really think of it as like a head to head against the average. So I already said like the average is a 1,500 ELO. That's kind of what we set it at. So every week in this simulation world, you're going up against a 1,500 week manager, which is the 50th percentile. And based on your elo, I can calculate your probability of winning against a 1500 manager. Basically, what are your chances based on your historical data that you are going to beat the average? And so say you're someone like Brandon, who's at 2000 right now, he would have like a 92% chance of beating the average. And so how traditional ELO works is it's either like a win-loss tie. So if you win, you get 1 point. And essentially you would take 1 minus your probability of winning. So say it's 92%. And that would give Brandon like a 0.08, just like imagine that number. Basically he's expected to win. So his like kind of like increase is going to be smaller in a given week. And he has to win by more, or like how I made it is like just winning doesn't matter. It's not whether you beat the average, it's how much did you beat the average. And so someone like Brandon needs to beat the average a lot more to maintain his rank than someone like me. Like I'm at 1800. I just need to beat the average. I need to be kind of in like the 70th, 75th percentile every week to maintain my rating. If I want to increase my rating, I have to get up, I have to be consistently, say, in like the 95th percentile. So that's kind of how it works. This was just totally random. If you new managers, if you have no data, I threw you in at 1300, expecting you to be maybe a little below average. But you can see already with Alex that he's on his way up. So I mean, that's good news for the league that our entire league is above average. And I expect everyone in the league to be around or above average by the end of the season, just because I threw in if you didn't have 4 years of historical data, you were penalized a bit. I basically like would put you down at like any missing season, I would put you at like a 1300. So if you've only done 3 years, I'd take your 4th year as like a 1300 rating and then kind of like penalized you a little bit. And that's everyone, doesn't matter how good you are. So people who have more years of experience weren't penalized, but yeah, so that's how it goes.
I'm gonna stand by my initial comment of nerd.
Well, I was gonna say, so like, first off, thank you so much I know that took a ton of work. Very much appreciate it. And also, just so you know, if to our viewers, our hundreds of viewers out there, if we do cut off and have to keep going, that's just because we're on the free Zoom. So we'll be back if we do like have a little cut off here. So I guess, very thankful that you did this, Andrew. You're about to get hit from both sides. You're going to get hit from an analytics person and the anti-analytics guy.
Let's go.
Kris, do you want to start us off?
Well, I think like Andrew said, I think the I was surprised by it ranking me so high.
Love that for you.
Not like
You're like biggest surprise me.
There was a little bit of a Cleveland bump built in. If you live the closer you live to Cleveland, the higher above 1500 it pushes you.
Yeah. So I mean, I knew again, it had some validity. No, but I think, like Andrew's saying, the more data it's going to get, the better it's going to get at predicting. But generally speaking, I think the teams that it has at the top are, besides myself, are when I look at like who I'm playing that week, I'm like, oh crap, I'm playing J-Rod. I know it's going to be a tough matchup. It kind of passes the eye test, the smell test, if you will. So,
and I might have to look into it. I'm a little surprised about Tolu's ranking, and we can get into that a little bit.
All right, y'all, we're back. Part 2 of the 3-hour podcast. No, just kidding. We're our free Zoom ran out as we forewarned. So where do we leave off? We left off talking about how we're surprised by Tolu's rank. And I do kind of agree, but it was the historical data from his first season, because he didn't have a great first season.
True. Yeah. I mean, it was, and maybe that's just my memory failing me. And
he took a year off, didn't he? Or he
did take a year off.
Yeah. And I don't think he was penalized for that as long as he's played 4 years, but obviously his rating 1661 right now, still above average by a good amount, but
he really did have a great season last year. I mean, he like completely came out of a cannon at the beginning of the year.
Yeah. But kind of going back to what you were saying, Rob, this doesn't actually care about your head-to-head. It really is only your percentile in the world that matters, at least historically. So maybe, I would say, head-to-head is luck. It's luck of the draw, who you're playing
Some would
against
say
in the
luck.
league.
Other would say luck is spelled WORK. So
That can't stop me because I can't read.
I know. I actually do think like now that I like hear people that are actually smart talk about this, because I'm not smart with analytics like that. That is why I went to law school and didn't touch math or science. Or I don't even, would this be science? Would this be math? Is this physics?
Statistics,
What,
maybe. I don't know.
statistics?
Bad statistics. If we had a real statistician, they'd be like, you're using a chess model.
Well, the thing is I do love statistics, but I only like them when they support what I want.
Yeah, your case.
So that's why I don't
Typical
like this
lawyer.
model, because it doesn't say I'm number one. And this is the only area of my life where I have self-confidence. So I kind of need that to reflect that I'm number one. Otherwise, what am I doing here? That's why I created this league, guys.
Boy, you're very close. I mean, it's like, not again, this model, you could think of it, it's in its calibration stages. So we'll see
So
where
is it updating week over week in the
every
sense, because you
week.
said before it's like percentile of the year.
Yeah,
Now it's percentile
every
based on
week.
every single game. Okay.
Yeah. And you can only, so just like how much you can expect, you can only like go up or down a maximum of, I think it's 34 points. Like that's the most you could ever increase or decrease in a single week. That number is extremely scientific and not pulled out of my my butt. But you can see Brandon basically saw the worst of it, right? So he last week was like a minus
Oh yeah.
28, which basically is because he was in, I don't know, the 30th percentile or something, but he was basically he needed to be in the 95th to maintain his rating, and
Yeah.
took a big hit. But you're gonna see it's a lot easier to lose points probably, especially when you're up top, than it is to gain points. So yeah, we'll see. The other thing that is important is that this model would never really predict, say, like, it doesn't know about your team. It doesn't know the players that you just transferred in or the strength of those players. It's really just you as a manager. So it would be better to be used as a long-term model, say like predicting the season, who's gonna win, who's gonna take home, than it would be like, oh, this week is Kris gonna beat Rob. The model does have an opinion on that, but that's just like on your strengths as managers, not on your team. So, if I start releasing, say, like weekly, probabilities of winning, don't put too much stock in
Oh,
that.
I love that idea. That sounds great.
Yeah, we can have a whole segment. I want Stephen A on here.
Can we be sponsored by BetQL or whatever? Yeah.
So can I give you a pitch for why it should, I don't even know if this is possible. Again, anti-analytics guy, not understanding how math/science/statistics work. So the reason why I think like I would want to capture trophies. Well, actually, you know what? No, I withdraw that, Your Honor. I do see the value of this, but I still think, and I do understand the sentiment that a lot of people make in our league that like trophies are arbitrary. Those are the only things I care about. I do not care whatsoever about your rank. I'll think it's like impressive. Like it's, yeah, cool. Like you're like top 100K. That's great. I do think there is some like overall correlation. Like, I mean, if you're have a higher rank, like you're probably going to win more games. So to the extent that like getting more points results in winning more games, then yeah, I agree with that. But it breaks down for me it talks about this a lot in inverting the pyramid, and I'm going, it's not that deep, it's FPL, but it talks about tactics in the context of culture and how they develop in the context of culture. And one of the main tensions of the book is certain countries care more about how their team looks as they play, as opposed to actually winning. So like Jose Mourinho style team, or like certain clubs prioritize like the fluidity of play over winning. And there's always this like push-pull of tension. And so like you think about Brazil and you think about like a tiki-taka style of play, very possession based. And that's something that like if you sacrifice that on the altar of winning, there would be people that aren't happy about that. And there would be that constant tension of like, do you want the beautiful game or do you want the tactics, or do you want, you know, a team that wins? And you get that with like a Jose Mourinho team. Like, you know, a Jose Mourinho team is going to be pretty ugly, but they are going to win trophies. Whereas you get someone, I like the Spurs manager, I should know his name, but I forget what his name is, but like they're a lot of fun to watch. I think they're beautiful to watch. Or like Graham Potter. Like I think they're like his teams are like fun to watch. But they don't really win trophies. And so I guess bringing it back to FPL, I think ELO and like rank is all about like how pretty and beautiful your team is. And that's, you know, people week over week trying to get like the most points possible. They don't really care who they're playing. They'll set up their transfers so that you know, they can maximize their points over the course of the season, even if they take a hit against take a hit against a player that maybe it's going to be a close matchup, but they'll take a hit because they know they have a big week coming up next week and they need to maximize with the double game week so that they can have more points over the course of the season. That to me is elevating playing beautiful or having like fluidity to your game over actually winning. And like if your goal is to win money and win trophies and win respect, which is what matters the most to me in this league, like at the end of the day, like don't get me wrong, Marcus, Brandon, I gotta hand it to you, the triple captain, that was brilliant. And if I had triple captain, which I would have never thought of doing in that week, I would have won my game. I lost my game. So like fair play to them. Amazing choice. You gotta tip your hat off. And like I can't really talk because my bench boosts, as Brandon will remind you, have been horrendous the last couple of years because I've been doing them on single game weeks because I'm targeting an opponent. But at the end of the day, if I have a triple captain who goes off against an opponent that like I know is either going to be taking a hit or is more concerned about rank, and is maybe saving their chip, or has already used their chips against someone they probably didn't need to use it against, then like that's great. That's helping you rank, but that's not necessarily going to help you win a championship. And so like, there's a reason I say I save all of my chips for the last 3 weeks of the season. I've done that the last 2 years. It doesn't work, but I still do it.
Just trying to make the final
and that's
clutch
because
here.
I want to have them in my back pocket if it's like the last day of the year and I'm trying to like get those 3 points that I need to win the league. So basically I think the model is brilliant, and I actually withdraw my complaint because I do think it's telling us something about who the best manager is in terms of like FPL. It's not telling us though the best manager in terms of our league. And I think there is a difference. So yeah, that is I'm off my soapbox.
Yeah, I would say too, because our league, you know, we have so many different, you've created so many different tiers of trophies and things like that too, that, you know, it creates multiple avenues for teams, for managers to win a trophy, which is exciting. And you know, when what trophy did Man U win last year? Did they win the
Is this proving Andrew's point? Because I don't remember.
This is yeah. No,
Are you talking about the one that's just like all of the England, or
is it the Carabao
Is it
Cup
the
or
League Cup?
whatever?
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah,
do
the
we even remember
League Cup.
which one it was?
Yeah. But just like, and you know, the point that like, oh, we won a trophy. It's like, yeah, but you won the least important trophy.
The one that
of-
we don't
of,
remember.
You know, yeah. And I think to Andrew's point, it's like, okay, if you want to win the league trophy, these probably matter. But at the same point, I remember, the first, I think 2 years that I played, I would always look at the team that I was playing the next week and say, basically make a transfer to either counter what they had, match what they had so it wouldn't be a deficit, or would say, I think they're, my team's set up fine to beat them. And even though it might be wise to transfer this player out because they have a tough fixture, I'm going to save the transfer for another week where I'm playing a tougher manager and can use it then. And I think it might have resulted in a couple, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a team that grinds out wins in the Premier League. Brighton tends to somehow find a way, I don't know, just like a team that wins games that you don't expect, that plays the triple captain just for the sake of playing it against the number one team in the league. Like that's what makes this kind of stuff fun.
Yeah.
And what makes our league, unique and interesting. So
Yeah, you talking about that, Rob, I really don't think we're that, we're more similar than
I love that for me.
than different.
All I want to
No,
be in life is more like you, AP.
it's I guess like the strategy that you do is it makes a lot of sense. And honestly, like I think I'm the same way, if I'm 50-50 and it's like, oh, I could take a -4 this week, but I'm up against J-Rod and I need every point I can get. I probably wouldn't take the -4. I'd wait a week. I guess this is how I see like statistics analytics in general is it's like you're rolling a dice or you're flipping a coin and it's just like, look, I want to put the best team on the field every week. I don't care what manager I'm playing because I trust if I have the best squad, I will win more often than I will lose. And so like everything I do is in maximizing my total number of points because then it's just like in aggregate, if the season went 1,000 games, the best team is going to have the most points. But that's not, we play a 38 game season, so there's a lot of randomness. That's what makes it fun. And that's to my credit what gives me a shot, because clearly I think I benefited from a lot of the head-to-head matchups like last year or the last maybe previous year before that, where I was in the top 4 and won the Champions League. I think I won the Champions League. It was 38-28 or something like that between
real high scoring. Yeah.
It's like I
All-time
think
matchup.
took a huge red arrow, but yeah, I mean it's sometimes it's not pretty. You get it done, and I think I benefited from that randomness a little bit. But yeah, I try to see it as put together the best squad. You'll win more games than you lose. And then there is the strategy of, okay, if this week I'm up against someone at the top of the table or someone that's just ahead of me, maybe I'm a little more mindful in taking a hit in order to make my squad better next week. Or maybe the other way, it's like, oh, I could bank a transfer, but no, I really want to bring someone in so I have a better, chance this week. I think that does play in more because of our mini league. And I think that's a good thing because I think that's fun. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I'm curious who the biggest by the end of the year, the biggest movers and shakers are going to be on up and down the list.
You guys got to do a takeover pod and talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to. So this is something that. So FPL doesn't track data from previous years. Like I said, they only know your percentile.
It's really
so I'm actually kind of pumped to do this because now I'm going to have every team in our leagues, like history, every game week, as long as we do this. So we could do like,
you're a treasure.
Say like 5 years from now, I can go back and be like, maybe, someone like Nick goes to the top of the table. We do a flashback. 5 weeks or 5 years, see where he's come from. Yeah, I think it's fun. Basically what FPL provides, they have pretty nice APIs for me to fetch all of this information. So yeah, if anyone wants, first off, if anyone wants to know their FPL ID, you can get it through, the URL, but maybe you don't have a desktop. So I can send anyone their ID because I have that. I have, I can throw more stuff out there if people want to know their percentile in a given game week. I can tell you that. So just let me know. But yeah, excited to see how things shake out. Obviously, trophies are the only thing that bring home the pride and the potential money. So, I wouldn't focus too much on this fake ranking, but I'm excited for the content. I'm
Well,
excited for the content.
golden boot does count. So I mean, you get a good chunk of money now for golden boot and for highest every week. So
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, thank you again so much, Andrew, I know that took a lot of time and obviously takes a lot of brains, hence you being a salutatorian.
Nerd.
Much respect.
First loser.
But yeah, thank you so much, guys, for talking. I know we went way over time. We probably could talk for like 5 hours, as we said before this. I think we did pretty good, make it out of here in an hour, I think, maybe. But thank you again, guys. In all seriousness, like, you bring a smile to my face every single time I think of you guys. Love you both. And I hope anybody else in the league who knows these guys or is in the same area as these guys goes to hang out with them, because they'll bring joy and laughter and a lot of love to your heart. They're wonderful people. And thank you so much again for being a part of this league. It wouldn't be the same without you guys.
Right back at you, Rob. Love you, man.
Thanks, Rob. Yeah,
See you guys.
guys. All right.
See you, man.
Oh wait, we're still on.